Marketer of the Day, episode 584, The Click Technique, 5-day launch challenges and local podcasts. Create a 5-figure funnel through curiosity, landing pages, irresistible offers, then cultivate and keep going with one click. Lindsey Anderson.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer of the Day podcast. You're in for a real treat because we are back with Click Lindsey, who has a new book out called The Click Technique. If you want to jump back and listen to interview we had with Click Lindsey almost 2 years ago, time really flies. That is over at marketeroftheday.com/171. And Click Lindsey Anderson is a web strategy expert who works with small business owners to help them utilize the web to produce more website traffic and leads. And Lindsey's the founder and the CEO, not just the founder, but also runs the dang place of trafficandleads.com. And she specializes in driving traffic, getting leads, and she's great at the art of nurturing leads to become lifelong clients. And Click Lindsey is an expert in landing pages, email sequences, search engine ranking, newsletters, analytics, social media, pay-per-click ads, websites, blogging, so many different things. And she knows how to utilize the myriad of online marketing options to generate more traffic and leads, which produces more paying clients. So OCL, how the heck are you?
Robert, thank you for having me back. You're like my lifelong friend, and I'm glad that I can finally come back to your show. So thank you.
Yeah, and I feel like we never even lost touch because, 2 years ago, like we said, time flies. I friended you on Facebook. I started seeing you doing all the live streams. I tune in on most of the Marketing and Merlot Facebook live streams. You got the Traffic and Leads podcast. You have the PDX Small Business Network Portland podcast. So many things going on. You're everywhere.
Well, I try, and as a fellow marketer who I respect yourself, you just have to be everywhere, right? Like that's kind of marketing. Sum it up.
Yeah, you got to be everywhere, and there's no sense in taking too much time scheming and planning. I mean, you don't have to have a plan, but I mean, time is of the essence, right? Especially these days, there's no sense in overthinking things and making sure everything's just right. You can't say, well, I want to have a book and then wait 5 years. You can't say, I should live stream and then wait 2 years to do it. You have to jump on it, right?
Amen. And I'm so glad you brought that up because that's what so many small business owners struggle with is the uncertainty and I'm not really sure what to do. And by the time they feel like they're certain, then it's kind of past. So like let's talk about IGTV. Have you been out there? Have you done IGTV yet, Robert?
Never heard of it. Say an Instagram?
Nice. Yeah, in IGTV. So Instagram TV, and I'm not surprised you haven't heard of it because it only came out like 2 to 3 weeks ago, but now you can upload let's see, is it 30-second to 15-minute videos to IGTV. They're trying to compete with YouTube, friend, and it's hot.
Nice. So yeah, one more thing to jump on, and so since you brought up Instagram, IGTV, do you ever struggle with trying to figure out how the heck the marketing business side fits into things? Because it's easy for Facebook to say, oh yeah, if you're hanging out with your friends, live stream, or if you're a celebrity, then stream on Instagram. But then as us marketers, us business people, we have to find that weird middle space where we need to have something to say and be entertaining, but then sell our stuff. But then it seems like some of these social platforms aren't always kosher with us having a link or selling stuff. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that, on kind of being out there and having fun and being entertaining, but then also having that call to action, also getting that traffic off of the platform?
Yeah, so I think that you bring up a really good point, especially when it comes to Instagram. So just for those of you who are listening, like Roberts, I believe, is referring to the fact that like you can make an Instagram post, but you can't if you put a link in there, it's not going to be an active link. Like they are actively trying to keep you on the platform and not making it easy for you to like click off and go somewhere else. And I also believe when we're talking about Instagram specifically, that just posting vanilla, I'm just going to say dry business stuff out there, that's not going to grow your Instagram following. You're not going to get a lot of people coming to you for business from that. Instagram and most of these other social media platforms, and the way to win with social, Robert, is that you have to show a little bit of yourself. You have to show your personality. You have to show a little bit about yourself because people do business with people and not just dry, stuffy people sharing facts, and them's the facts there, Robert. That's how you win on social.
Nice. So along those lines, does anything come to mind as far as some really good content that's really personal but also gets the job done? Like, does anything come to mind as far as anything that you shared or you've seen on Instagram that kind of does what you're talking about here, where it's personal and it's real, but then it's also sort of on topic?
Yeah, so my favorite Instagram, this is my basic Instagram strategy. Now we're just like into the whole Instagram thing, and I love it. So is I usually will pick five pillars of Instagram, and those are 5 segments of my life, Robert. So it's health and fitness, it's work, business, traffic and leads, conversions, those kind of things. It's my kids, it's travel, and it's what's my other one? Maybe like we always go to the beach. We're big beach people here. So it's the beach. And so I always recommend on Instagram you post at least 5 times a week, and you go and draw from these different pillars. Now, I'm not saying Monday's beach day, Tuesday's work day. I'm saying if you don't feel like you have anything to post on Instagram for that day, then you go to these 5 pillars and see which one you haven't posted on in a while and figure out something to go along with it. And so I just think I'm not saying you have to put your kids' names and ages and everything out there, but I do think you have to share your beliefs or your kids or what you do in a day. Like, people love this whole like peeking in and kind of getting a glimpse of your life, that you're a real person. So, doing an Instagram at your house or in your studio or doing work and just sharing like that you are a real person, that truly is the strength of social media and how to get more clients on social media.
Awesome. I love it. And what you said right there of having the 5 pillars, I mean, I think that's a really good mindset helper for any kind of content strategy, any kind of content creation, because what you're making me think of, you say you have those 5 pillars for your Instagram posts: health, work and business, kids, travel, the beach. You're making me think back to the blogging days, right? Way back in the dark ages, before it was all about live streaming and before it was all like you'd write a bunch of words on a page and then post it to your website. And as you can imagine, sometimes it's really hard to write stuff, or it's really hard to come up with ideas. And I mean, even maybe these days, people who are posting on their LinkedIn posts or something are just like sometimes having trouble with what to write, or they're making their YouTube channel and they're like, what do I even talk about today? And I used to do almost the exact same thing. I'd have 6 topics of what I'd blog about. And so that way, it kind of did a weird thing to my brain, because if I said, well, I'm looking at a blank page, I have no idea what to talk about, I would get stuck. If I would say, well, let me look back at 100 blog posts and come up with something totally unique, I'd get stuck. But then if I said, well, I only really post 5 or 6 types of content, then I could just choose one of those types, either what jumps out at me or even one at random, and then I'm halfway there to coming up with whatever the idea for that post was. So, I mean, worked back then, still works now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so important. So just for fun, you mentioned the click technique at the beginning of this interview. So we are talking specifically about the first C in the click technique, which is curiosity. Like, Robert, no one is going to do business with you unless they're like curious about your content. And once they're curious about you and your content, then of course there's many things us marketers can do to like, reel them in for the sale. But this C piece is so hard. And my main recommendation is kind of what you're saying is, if you can batch process this, or like if I'm at the beach for an entire weekend, I will take lots of pictures. I'm not going to post them all on Instagram, but the second I don't have something to post on Instagram tomorrow, I can go to this like treasure trove. So my advice is when you're feeling inspired or motivated to write this content, then write it and put it away for those times that you're not.
I love it. Yeah, it's like you stockpile stuff for now,
yes,
when you're super excited, super creative, so that when you're maybe things are a little slower or down in the dumps or uninspired, then you can just go and like pull from the treasure trove, as you said. And yeah, you're making me think of a couple of different things. One is that few years ago, I had this fence that had a gopher in it and it was about to give. And so what did I do? I took some pictures and I ended up writing just a silly LinkedIn Pulse article starting with the gopher in the fence and then tying it to like troubleshooting and tying it to mindset stuff. And it was just, it was a different jumping off point than, let me give you some 10 business facts. And then something else that you're making me think of, kind of relating back to the book and the click technique and the first C, which is curiosity, is even a few more years ago, one day I had a pipe burst, like an outgoing sewer pipe, and there was all this water just outside of my house, and it's a pretty new house.
You have a lot of bad luck.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it, but it's spaced over several years.
Okay.
But you know how like the newer homes these days are, sometimes they cut corners, right? So
yes,
like what can you do? So so this pipe burst, and I had to look up how to shut the outside water off in my house just before the plumber and all of them got there. I had to, stop the leaking. And I went on YouTube and I looked up how to do it. And then I noticed that there were videos from a few plumbers who were not in my city, but they were just like, local plumbers. There's no such thing as a plumber that's going to fly across the country to come to you. So let's say it was a plumber in, say, like Portland, Oregon. And even though they just served that one area, it was still worth their while to publish that free, helpful YouTube content, even though some people from who knows where would see it, it would still help them. But then if someone in Portland, Oregon was looking for a plumber to help save this burst sewer pipe, then it seems like that person finding that video would be way more inclined to contact that plumber who has demonstrated on video that they know what they're talking about, as opposed to just some random person that they found on Yelp or something.
100%. And not only that, not only are they building trust and credibility locally, if we're just talking about local businesses like that, but just the fact that they did that YouTube video and probably posted to their site and social is going to help their SEO. So people are actually going to be seeing them more anyway. So there's a lot of ways to win. Yeah. Yeah. You just got to do content. Sorry, peeps.
Yeah. And so, I mean, how much content are we talking? You said that on Instagram, it's important to do 5 times a week. So, I mean, is it just a matter of what our preference is? Because sometimes I think like, well, geez, how often should I YouTube or Facebook Live? And then I'm like, if someone told me what's the quota I should meet, I feel like that might be helpful.
All right, Robert. Okay. So this is how I usually deal with customers and business, and how I wrote my book, The Click Technique, is I feel like I will always say this: the more, the better. Okay. And so, yes, I say post 5 times on Instagram. That is if you are interested in growing an Instagram following, which you may or may not be. If you're not, then listen to what I say right now, which is in my book, The Click Technique. For the first C, curiosity, I say I want at least one piece of good content per week. And the reason why I say that is not because that's going to skyrocket you to wealth and riches on the internet, but I feel one good, interesting piece of content a week is a place where most business owners can wrap their brain around it and actually execute, and it will help you build a strong online marketing foundation. Sure, the more content you post, the faster you will grow. But if I were to tell business owners, you have to write a 3,000-word blog post every single week, post on Instagram 5 times a day, and then don't forget to tweet, 20 times a day, most business owners would be completely overwhelmed and not do anything. So my goal and my purpose and what I want business owners to understand is I want you to, once a week is okay. If that's all you can do, that's a lot in building a strong online marketing foundation. So to answer your question and not be a politician here, once a week, Robert, that's what I say. One piece of great content a week, and you're going to share it a few different times. That is enough. That is enough.
That's really doable. And I think that we can all relate to getting super overwhelmed for all the things that we want to do and kind of being stuck with, well, I'm not doing enough, or there's this huge to-do list of all the things I should do. So once a week makes perfect sense. And what you're making me think of here as far as this once a week thing, and I know that we're skipping a little bit ahead on the click technique, but
it's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, we're two all over the place people, right? That's just how we do it. But then we can always circle back around and make sense out of all the chaos later. But one thing that really changed my whole life was maybe 10 years ago, if not longer, I heard the piece of advice from a guy named Mike Fulsame who said, email every day. And it took me a while to get up to speed with that, to build up the muscle, so to speak, but it totally changed my life. And I hit my email list up probably 4 or 5 times a week. Sometimes it's all 7 days, and I was afraid of being too aggressive, too annoying, too frequent, but I haven't looked back since. And even when I think about it, I mean, email marketing, many times you're just sending a couple of sentences. So when I think about emailing my list every day, it's not like I'm sending 2 pages a day every single day to my email list. If you concatenated or put together all the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday stuff, it would probably be just one piece of content. So that's really great. And then also just as far as the simplicity of it, the one piece of content per week, I mean, I think that we all need to be hopping on other people's podcasts as a guest, sort of like how you're on right now. And one thing that tripped me up for the longest time was I was like, oh, I have to show up on 4 episodes or 4 shows every week and have this back-to-back schedule. And then whenever I asked people about it who had been on hundreds of shows, the answer was just like, no, I'm just on 1 podcast a week. But then you take a year or you take, a few years, and now they've been on hundreds of podcasts because of that little bit of being deliberate about it and being persistent about it added up over time. So this advice of 1 piece of content per week, super awesome. But I don't want to get hung up on just this one C of the click technique. So once you have the curiosity, you put the content out there, you might be thinking, okay, well, I don't want to just be doing this for free. So what does the content part lead to?
Okay, well, first of all, may I say, I totally could not agree with you more about emailing your list once a day. I know it sounds crazy, but I'll be honest, I don't personally do it, but I have customers that do it, and it reaps tons of rewards. Because when was the last time that someone went in to buy a TV commercial, a TV spot, and they say, yeah, I just don't think that we should be showing up in between for every commercial break. That's just too much marketing. People will really think we're pushy. That's not going to happen, right? We're marketers. You got to get in front of people, and the more you're in front of people, the more likely they are to buy your stuff. So I just wanted to, vouch for Robert. For those of you who have not heard of this email your list once a day thing, it's totally legit and you should totally do it. But let me answer Robert's question, which is L for land is the next letter in the click technique. And essentially, after people are curious about you through your social media content or your blog post or whatever, even through SEO, and they click on a link and they end up at your website, there's many things that you have to do in order that you need to have ready on your website. Number 1, of course, and I have a whole list of them, Robert, and I'm sure you've covered them on your website, but essentially make sure your website is professional, make sure it looks good on mobile, make sure you have Google Analytics on there, and make sure that you have a Facebook pixel on there so that later you can go to Facebook and say, hey, Facebook, everybody who visits my website, show them this ad. Those are fundamentals that you must have on your website in order to convert people on your website into clients.
Super cool. And that right there that you threw in there about just worry about getting the analytics and the pixel on there now, and then later on when you get to the ads, then you can pick up on that. And I think that's so important because it seems like a lot of people have this chicken and the egg problem, right? They say, yes, well, I can't do A because I don't have B, and then I can't do B because I don't have A. And so your advice is just get the dang landing page set up. You can always make it better later. You can always edit later, but just have the essential components in there now. That way you're set up for success in the future steps.
Yes, just honestly, I don't care if you ever have any intention of looking at your Google Analytics, because heaven knows that can be extremely overwhelming. And I don't care if you ever think that you're ever going to run a Facebook ad in your entire life. Things change. Your mind might change. It probably will if you want to grow your business. So get those things on there now so they can start tracking data, and then you can forget about them. Get them on there. If your web developer's going to charge you more than $25 to install analytics and a Facebook pixel, contact Robert. I'm sure he'll do it for $50. Is that fair to say, Robert?
Sure. Let's just say that.
Okay. Same with me. You can contact me if Robert doesn't want to do it for you.
Yeah. And also, just so that people have your information as we're still talking here, how can people contact you?
Yes, so they can find out more about me at my website, trafficandleads.com. And then also, as Robert so kindly suggested, I also have a podcast that's out every week, Traffic and Leads Podcast. And if you want to find out more about my book, you can find out more at theclicktechniquebook.com.
Cool. Yeah. So just in case people are listening and are like, oh yeah, like I want to check out One Click Lindsey stuff, but I don't want to wait till the very end. So you have those links as we're still talking here: trafficandleads.com, trafficandleadspodcast.com, and theclicktechnique.com. And yeah, so all right. So we said C is for curiosity, L is for landing page. So what's the I in Click Technique stand for?
Yep. So if you don't mind, I'll cover the I and the C together. The I and the second C. Is that cool?
Yeah.
So I is for Irresistible Offer. I know Robert has interviewed plenty of people on this, but essentially after people come to your website, 99.9% of them will not be ready to do business with you. They're just looking around. They're looking at your content, seeing what's up. So you have to create a piece of really amazing something in order to get their email address. So that can be a PDF, that can be a video, that can be a million other things. And then after you get their email address, you have to continue to email market to them. So that's the second C, which is cultivate. And you just at least once a week. Robert says every day, and I totally agree with him. And the more you email market, the better. What I don't want you to do is email 3 times in a week and then not email them for 6 months. That is not going to work. So again, this is all about pacing. The Click Technique is literally about pacing yourself and giving you the ability to actually be able to execute on this stuff for the long term. So at least once a week, you're going to email these people who have raised their hand about your irresistible offer and just send them a notification about your piece of curious content that you created for the week, whatever that may be. This can be a very simple process for you.
Awesome. So yeah, and you make it sound so simple. Like you have that content to get the curiosity, you have the landing page, that way they have somewhere to go, and you get them on your list, and then you give them these offers to sell, but then you also follow up. That way, all that work you put in of the traffic and the landing page and getting them to sign up, it's not all a waste. You keep talking to those people and you keep them alive. And so are you pressed for time here, or do you have like 10 more minutes
Robert, anything for you.
All
honestly.
right, perfect. I just don't want to keep you from another appointment here. So we said C is for curiosity, L is for landing page, I is for irresistible offer, C is for cultivate. It's all leading up to the big K. So what's the K
hard
stand
one?
for?
You thought the first C for curiosity was the hard one, but I'm here to tell you the K, which stands for keep going, is literally what separates those who succeed in digital marketing and those who do not. Are those that are willing to keep going, keep emailing, keep posting, and keep on keeping on, even though maybe they don't see a lot of results, or they make a mistake, or they fall down. Those who keep going are the winners.
Nice. And that's something that it's easy to forget, that sometimes this internet stuff takes a while to pick up speed. You need to get the traffic.
We say most of the time.
Yeah, but then that's not exciting, right? It's easier to say, oh, well, you click a button and you get instant riches. But even I've been getting my wife to do voiceovers and audiobooks, and it's making a little bit of money, but it took months and months for the income to build up to something substantial. And I totally forgot about this for years, but I told her just yesterday, I'm like, this is kind of how this internet stuff is. Like, it's usually not 0 to 100 miles an hour. Sometimes the stuff has to build up and build up. And that's why, like back when I got started, I don't know if you were in this sort of similar situation, but I had a day job. I had to pay the bills, and then I built up the internet stuff. And then once the internet stuff built up to be enough, then I quit the job, and then the internet became more, the income from that was more than what the day job was. But I had to have that steady, stable income first for the list and everything else to build up to something substantial.
Yeah, and I would say Robert is absolutely right. Unless you have, I would say, the only way to combat this time thing and this consistency thing and this keep going thing is if you have a big budget where you can run a crap ton of paid ads without having even like it paying for itself immediately. Like even that's long term, but that will just shoot you ahead a fair amount. So you either have to put in your time or you have to put in your money in order to succeed.
Nice. And so along those lines, so that's something that leads me into there are two kind of more advanced techniques here that I wanted to make sure to ask you about, a couple of things that you've been doing recently, and that's why I kind of wanted to get the Click stuff out there, the foundation set up, and then ask you about these couple different things. And so one thing that changed my life, and I'm sure yours as well, was this concept of the launch, right? Like we just talked about how sometimes it takes a while for things to pick up, but then you can give your business somewhat of a jolt by having a launch sequence. You built up this list, you got this traffic, you put up the content, and then you say, well, on this upcoming date and time, I'm coming out with this product or this course. So be on the lookout for that. And then you create this content specifically designed with a shortened window of time to promote something that has coming out. And you did this, you've done a bunch of launches like that, but you did something really unique this last time. You did a 5-day challenge. You did a Facebook pop-up group. So can you fill us in on what happened and why you did it and how it went?
Sure. So I've done it a couple of times. So I've tried launches, and those can be really successful for sure. But I do feel like people out there are getting it's a little bit of it can be a little bit of a tired thing. Like they know that at midnight you're going to send 20,000 emails to them until your cart closes and all this. And I just want to say up front that this cart open and close and this idea of scarcity 100% is necessary for your business, because if you always have something for sale, people just won't buy because they'll just keep putting it off. So I wanted to get that point out there, but let me answer Robert's question, which is what did I do for this special kind of launch? So what I did is I did this twice. I picked a topic that was extremely niche and something that I feel like I could help people with in 5 days, with 5 days worth of workshops, which sounds like a lot, but they were kind of complicated topics. The first one I did was how to build a 5-figure funnel in 5 days or less. And the second one I did was how to SEO your site on your own in 5 days. And as Robert said, I created a private Facebook group and I ran some ads and I emailed my list and I got as many people to join me in this private Facebook group. And I said, hey group, we're going to start this bad boy on Monday. And every single day for the 5 days at 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, I will get on and I will provide a training for you. And I will teach you what you need to know, bite-sized pieces for them to feel like they've accomplished something. And at the end of the training, I will give you some homework. And I want everyone to do their homework. I want everyone to watch the training. And also throughout the day, I would do some motivational, because as we talked about, with digital marketing, it is such a mindset thing. So I always include a mindset piece in this. So we walk through every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I do my trainings. I provide as much support as I can in this private Facebook group. And the entire time I am telling these folks, you have to do the training right now. I will be deleting all of the files. I will be deleting this Facebook group. You will not be able to reference any of this on Monday after the challenge is complete. So this really drives people to feel like they have to focus on it if this is something they want to do. Many times we buy courses or sign up for something thinking that we'll get to it later. This prevents that from even happening. And I just say, here it is. You have to do it now or you will never do it, at least with me. So after the end of the 5 days, then I have my offer, whatever that is. And by this time, people are communicating so much in the group. You have people who are outstanding that are doing their homework and truly, truly invested in this process. And essentially, you're going to go at the end on Friday. You offer whatever your offer is. I have a really great package called the Traffic and Leads Foundation package that I offer. And I basically put a killer price on that. And I say, here you go. You have till Monday. When I take the group down, this offer goes away and increases again by $500, and you have to buy right now. By the end of the week, people know who I am. They are looking forward to my Facebook Lives. They are, Robert's been in this group. Robert, the comments in this group are like never ending, right? Like people are extremely engaged.
Oh yeah, especially Glenn Parameter. I see him all the time. Yeah.
I mean, it is a total blast. And I make friends with people. As Robert said, I recently launched a book. So many people who have participated in these challenges because it became such a personal thing, because I'm talking to them on Facebook Live and I'm calling them by name and I feel like I know them, that they all went out and reviewed my book. Like we are friends. Even if they didn't buy my product, they're definitely fans. And when they're ready, they're going to buy my product or they're going to tell their friends about it. Like, this is amazing. But both, regardless of that, both challenges, I was able to close over $10,000 worth of packages with 1 week of work. It's a very powerful strategy.
Super cool. Yeah, no kidding. And this is really great because I've heard of people mention the 5-day challenge before, but sort of in vague terms. And it definitely wasn't as organized as what you said here. They just said, oh yeah, just choose a day on the calendar and then have it 5 days. And you're like, okay, you launch the group on Monday. You say that the offer's going to happen on Friday, or the launch is on Friday, and then the group is closed down on Monday, and you say 9:30 a.m. every day I'm doing the training. That way people will expect it. That way if someone finds the time on Monday, they're also likely to find it on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There's that micro commitment aspect of it. There's the homework, there's the training, there's the motivational stuff in between. And what really got me, I don't think I told you this before, but what got me in even paying attention to your group, because I think, like, I don't remember, I think I saw a Facebook post or a live stream when I joined her group, and I was a little bit curious, but I was like, all right, let's just see what she's got.
What she's doing.
Yeah. And that, like, all of us marketers, right, we all snoop on each other.
Oh, yeah.
But what converted me over the fence was you did a live stream kind of talking about, and you put this in your recent book too, of avoiding that comparison trap. And not only that, but that it can kind of go two ways, right? That we've all seen those other marketers who they really inflate their numbers and they talk a big game. But then what really got me is that sometimes it's easy to ignore the marketers that it looks like they're not making any money. Like maybe they'll make blog posts or Facebook posts and not really have a big list or a lot of traffic or a lot of response. But then you said something like, well, they might have a handful of recurring clients. So you actually don't know how much money they're making. You don't have all the data to estimate that. And I was like, geez, she's so right. There are some marketers out there who had a lot of good stuff to say, that were doing a lot of stuff, but I was discounting them because I was trying to calculate in my head based on their list size how much money they were making, but they might have had income coming in from other sources. And then something else that's interesting, that the way that you put this is also, at first I didn't get the deleting the group strategy there, or like that step in there, because I was like, well, why would she build up that group just to delete it?
Oh,
yeah, but
you
then
have to, because people do their homework. Yes,
right. And I mean, as you were explaining just now, it really clicked with me, because as everything else, everything old is new again. What I used to do with my webinars is, back when webinars were pretty new and everyone would provide replays, I said, I'm going to be the only person to not give you a replay. Like, it's live, you show up. If not, you missed it. And then suddenly people who didn't care suddenly started showing up, and they were saying. They were a little mad that there was no replay. But I was like, okay, you can be mad, but you're also going to buy from me. And then likewise, I would, back when blogging was a thing and we didn't have much Facebook going on, it was hard to get blog comments. And no matter what I did, I couldn't get blog comments. But then I'd say, well, after I get 10 comments on this blog post, I'm closing the comments. Or on Friday, I'm closing. It worked freaking great. Sometimes I'd get 30 to 100 comments per blog post, just from all these people who they wouldn't have cared either way. But now they have to get their comment in, because if they don't, then it'll be locked out forever. And then what was also great about, and here I am just like, praising you left and right here, but it's also great about your Facebook group was, so I got to the point where I'm like, all right, I'll join her membership, I'll join her Facebook group. And then you started messaging me saying, well, you have to go and do the challenge. And I was like, all right, fine, I'll do the challenge, because I got that little bit of a push. And there's something to be said about that. Like, for those of us who have those regular people who interact with us on Facebook, or if we have a Facebook group and it's not really getting the engagement we want, what's the harm in going to some names that you recognize and sending them a quick Facebook message saying, hey, you joined the group, why not go out there and do your homework? And relating that back to the old school stuff, sometimes I'd have, like early on with the blogging, when I said I'm closing this blog post at 10 comments, sometimes I'd only get 5 comments. And I said, well, what do I do now? And what I did was I went into the blog comments and just did a quick reply and read their comment and gave a real reply to each thing. And at first I was resistant to doing it, but it only took a couple of minutes just to read a reply, write a reply, and then same thing with your Facebook group. If we are doing this pop-up group concept, this 5-day launch challenge thing, and we fill up a group with even a handful of people and we're having trouble getting people to attend the live streams and commit, why not just send a few of those messages and give them a little kick in the pants, right?
It's it's a very personal thing. So I wasn't going to mention this because this is a secret, but I'll be honest. Every single person who comes into my challenge, I actually send them personally. I don't even have a VA do it, Robert. I personally send them a message because I go into every single challenge saying, I literally want to get to know these people and create, even if I create one fan that will sing my praises, then I will consider this challenge a win. And if you go in with an attitude of truly helping people and truly trying to make a connection with people, you will be a winner because there won't be anything for them to see through. They won't see through your sales pitch. They won't see through your tactics. They'll be like, she's like really trying to help me. And there's this famous quote that's always floating around, but the second that you give people, like that you help people achieve their goals, you will in turn achieve yours. And it's so true, especially in the small case of this challenge.
Nice. Yeah, that's a really great way of looking at it, that like you're out there to help people and yeah, you have stuff for sale and there's that money standing in the way between what they have now and what they're going to have, but you want to help them and you're a marketer just like everyone else, but yeah, you're not just trying to play the bait and switch game. You're saying, I'm one Click Lindsey. I know how to get your traffic and your leads and your website. I want to help you get your traffic and your leads and your website. So there's the motivation and there's the way for you to just find that little bit of time every day or every week to do your follow-up. So speaking of helping people, in these last couple of minutes that we have left, I mean, we went over time and went over time again, which is totally okay. But I wanted to make sure.
Get together, Robert.
What's that?
That's what happens when friends get together.
Right. We just have the witty banter. I mean, it's like when you have the Marketing and Merlot show with Lindsey and Lindsey, it's just a lot of back and forth randomness, but joking around, all enjoyable, but keeps it fun, right? Who wants some stuffy business person who's super careful? It's better to be real and have some fun and teach some super cool marketing strategies that can make us all some money. So something else that you do that's really super duper cool and awesome is this thing called a local podcast, where you have a podcast set up in your town and you approach local businesses in order to be on the podcast to get them more exposure, and that gives you a little bit of a foot in the door with them. So in these last 5 minutes or so, can you explain to us what this local podcast is that you do?
Yeah, so I'm from Portland, Oregon, so I created, and you guys can check it out, it's a PDX Small Business Network.com. Hold on, it's PDX Small Business Network Podcast.com. Sorry for hesitating there. Make sure you get the word podcast in there. But essentially, once a week, I will host a 20-minute podcast, super simple, where I interview small business owners in the Portland, Oregon area. And here's the crazy thing, Robert. I don't care who listens to it. I don't care if that website's get any traffic. The entire reason why I am doing this podcast is literally to build a relationship with these small business owners. So there has only been one business in all that I have approached in all of Portland that has said, no, we won't be on your podcast. And that was right when I was starting. And it was it was a fundamental like Portland brand here. And so I'm not really surprised that they said no. They probably would say yes now because I actually have a lot of listeners. But the entire purpose of this podcast is to find my perfect client and get them to talk to me for 20 minutes. And during this 20 minutes, I am shouting their praises and having them talk about their business and making them feel extremely, extremely special. And there's always green room talk before and after. And they will always ask me, well, why are you doing this? Tell me more about you. And guess what? I get tons of clients this way. I talk to them. We create this relationship. They say, well, I do need help with my online marketing. And there you go. Where like if I were to just walk into their doors and try to talk to them about their digital marketing, they would kick me out. Same goes for like if I go to a chamber event. If I go to a chamber event and I'm like, hey, I'm a digital marketer, their eyes gloss over because everyone's a freaking digital marketer, right? But if I go and say, yeah, I run this PDX Small Business Network podcast, I'm looking for people to interview, tell me about your business, maybe we'd make a good match, all of a sudden their defenses are down and they're willing to talk to me. And it is a magical, magical tool. Don't get caught up in the stats. Once again, out of all of this that we've talked about, Robert, it's all about relationships. Just focus on like these one-on-one relationships and your business will grow.
That is awesome. And that's really good reciprocity there, where the first step in that relationship is you helping them out,
Yes.
you giving them promotion, you letting them talk about themselves. So then it's a really easy transition for them to say, well, now tell me about what you do and what you can do for me setting up a website. And we'll definitely have to have you back to unpack more about this local podcast thing. But I'm curious about, is there anything that you didn't know about this going in, or that you wish you'd know about it going in, or just what any kind of gotchas that are involved in this local podcast thing?
You know, I didn't have a lot of expectations going in. I had lived in Idaho for my entire life and the entire 10 years of my business. And we recently threw a dart at a map and decided that we wanted to go to Portland. And since we have this mobile business, we could do that. And so we moved to Portland, and I was used to like being in charge of the city. Like I was the number one web developer and online marketer in my old city. And so to come to Portland and really wanting to plant my flag, I really just wanted to make some one-on-one connections with business owners. So no, there is no gotchas. Honestly, it's just, I just wanted to get to know people. And instead of being like, can I have 20 minutes of your time and we'll just chat? This is just the perfect way to open that door. And I'll be on, I mean, I've gotten clients from this, Robert. I host at least one live event a year, and I just email the list of people who have been on my local podcast, and a ton of them come so I can fill up live events with these things. It's just about building relationships. Sorry, I don't have a gotcha because I had no expectations besides I want to meet someone. Super cool.
So maybe an unconventional or unthought of way to build a list of new people who need some of your services. And you mentioned there that you've turned some of them into clients, and a lot of that just happened organically. Do you do anything intentionally to like follow up with them later to see if they need any like coaching or services, or is there just enough coming back from them that you don't have to do that?
Yeah, so I'll be honest. I feel like it's a very like I'll be honest. I don't want to come across as extremely markety to where they're like, oh, that's the only reason why she wanted me on her podcast. So that
one Click Lindsey, she's only after one thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll be honest. I tread lightly, and I even probably tread, I'll be honest, too lightly, especially from we've been talking about emailing once a day and all of this. Like with marketing, I don't know if there is treading too lightly, but with these guests, I literally tread lightly. When that podcast episode comes out, I have a form email that I email them where I invite them to get on my calendar if they would like a free 20-minute consultation to discuss their digital marketing. And then of course, it always gets wrapped up in my buffer where they're constantly being mentioned on social media. So I've even had people comment on like an old episode that happens to come up in the cycle and be like, oh, I totally need to talk to you. So I'm kind of reminding them through social. I do make an official sales push in that email where I say your episode is ready. I really enjoyed it. By the way, you should totally get on my calendar. But that's really the only push outside of if I hold a live event, then for that segment of my list, I will be like, you were a podcast guest. I truly feel like this would benefit you. And they'll show up to the live event.
Super cool. And so that live event, is that the kind of thing where like, do you do that a certain time every year? Or if people are listening to this conversation maybe months or years from now, is that consistently, or is that just whenever's convenient for the calendar?
100% needs to be consistently. This year it will be in late September, but that's what I know. I would like to do it more, like I'd like to do it once a quarter, but as we've discussed, a marketer has so many things to do. So I haven't been able to commit to that, but I do think in a perfect world, a quarterly event in the Portland area is something I'd be very interested in doing.
Ooh, exciting stuff. Lots of possibilities ahead. So yeah, so it sounds like you have a lot of these interesting things figured out, but you also find the time to pursue those handful of things that are really working, and you make it really simple. You don't have all these crazy subsystems for all the things that are happening. You say what you need to do is have your content for your curiosity, have your landing page that's professional, mobile responsive, have your analytics, your Facebook pixel. That way you build a list. You build that list, you send them to an irresistible offer. You have that list and then you cultivate them. You send them additional things in your follow-up sequence, other pieces of content, other things to buy, just keep that active, and then you keep going. You pursue those fundamentals. And another thing that changed my life was listening to some Tony Robbins program years ago, and he said that some of these pro athletes like Michael Jordan and them, they'll just shoot basketball. I don't know what the proper term is. I'm not much of a sports guy, but they'll just do like their 3-point shot or their layups. They'll just repeat the same basic technique over and over again because that's what works. And like I used to be in Little League, and same thing. They'd say you're gonna catch fly balls, you're gonna catch grounders. They just repeated and repeated because that's what works. Why make it any more complicated than it has to be? So if people want to know about this awesome book you have, the Click Technique, Traffic and Leads podcast, anything else, you mentioned URLs before, but can you do us a favor and mention those again? That way everyone absolutely has the correct contact information here.
Yes, thank you so much, Robert. So you can check out my company at trafficandleads.com. My blog and everything else, all my podcast episodes, you can check out at oneclicklindsey.com. We didn't even go. You'll have to listen to a past episode at why I'm called One Click Lindsey or buy the book. But most importantly, if you want to check out my book, you can grab that on Amazon. You can find out more about it at theclicktechniquebook.com.
Super awesome. Theclicktechniquebook.com to get that book that we've been unpacking, and then trafficandleads.com and trafficandleadspodcast.com.
I know, so many URLs, so many.
But that's good. You have to be noticed somehow. That's been the topic of this podcast, right? You have to have so many things out there in this crowded, noisy world that if someone just sees 1% of the things that you have out there, then that'll get them on your list, get them to buy, get them to follow you, all that good stuff. If you don't have enough out there, you won't get heard. So just a really good lesson right there. So theclicktechniquebook.com. And thanks so much, One Click Lindsey, for clicking your way over to this podcast and helping us out and changing some of our thinking and telling us what we need to do. So thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks for listening to today's program. Start from the beginning or view past episodes at marketeroftheday.com/episodes.